But I can tell you, because I've had to sit back and watch the interview over and over again as we're preparing it, and putting it out. I haven't met too many human beings that own their whole life in the way that Tyson has owned it.
Yeah.
Admits to everything, good and bad, the triumphs and the failures, the drug addiction and the fights and the ripping people off and all the bad stuff. He actually said that at one point, because we talked about when he was doing his press conference and he would tell people to go fuck themselves and said, "I'll fuck you," and like, "You love me," and all this crazy shit. He's like, "Yeah, man, listen." He's like, I was having problems dealing with it. He described it in a way that I think that maybe you would understand as a professional athlete. He said, because for me it was a little weird, he said, it's almost like a young girl having her first period. Everything just starts to change and you're just not cool with anything anymore, and everything is just weird.
That's a perfect way of putting it. Like, I give you an example. I have this artist and I said, hey, next year, none of this that you're going through is going to happen. None of, oh, I'm going to call this person to get me in the club, or we were dressed here, or, oh, that outfit is from Macy's. That is not happening ever again. All of that is going away, and you are going to totally, think about this, Vlad. I'm dating, I'm in college. I have no money. Georgia Tech is not one of those pay-you schools. I'm doing barnstorming. That's when a whole bunch of guys do like an all-star game. I'm getting paid $1,200, $1,100. My rent is $600. My car note is $300. And you're trying to dress well or whatever. So you go pro, and now your checks are $12,000 a month. This is, in the 80s. And $12,000, I didn't make $12,000 in 4 years. That's per check. Then you get your sneaker check, which they pay you. What my first sneaker deal was $60,000. 20% of that went to my agent. Such a ripoff. The rest of that, 15% went to the state. I'm wearing sneakers for less than $30,000. But you got $30,000. My pops was making $32,000 a year.
Yeah.
So imagine, like I said, it's all money. It comes to a point where you grab it, you go, okay, I got to save this, but it's money. It's supposed to be spent. And you try to match the vets. When the vets are pulling up in a cashmere coat, Vinnie Johnson had a Patek Philippe on, and I was like, man, that's a pretty gold watch. He's like, yeah, man, $7,500. $7,500 for a watch?
I wish I could buy a Patek for $7,500.
$7,500? That watch now from 1986 has to be worth $60,000, $70,000.
Yeah, that's probably, I guess about $50,000, but yeah, maybe 60, 70, yeah.
You wouldn't know as a young cat that you should buy jewelry that appreciates.
Right, like Patek, like Rolex.
Yeah, you wouldn't know that.
Audemars, yeah.
You see them with it, you just see gold watch. No, instead I went and got a herringbone chain. Well, I got a Mr. T starter kit on. I'm like this. My dumb ass.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that you visited Mike Tyson in prison. He mentioned that the way he became friends with Tupac was Pac used to visit him in prison.
Yeah.
And that's how they became close.
Wow. He said he got Tupac killed.
He said he's guilty. He still feels guilty because leading up to the Bruce Seldon fight, he kept calling Pac because Pac did a song that he was walking in with. So he was like, I want that song, I want that song. He pressured Pac to come to Vegas, and then Pac gets killed. So he feels a certain level of guilt.
Yeah.
It was really a bad day when that happened. I just knew it was really bad. And I felt a little guilty about him coming to the fight, me pressuring him for the, hey, bring the tape, don't forget the tape, And I was going to go out with him that night. I promised to go to 662 with him that night, but I just had a little baby, and her mother was provoking me to stay home, so I stayed with the baby, and then someone called me that night and told me that happened, and I'm just...
And it's interesting because yesterday I interviewed Crunchy Black,
Mm.
and I mentioned the same thing. He goes, you know, Crunchy Black's daughter just got killed.
So,
You know, and he said that night she called him at like 4 or 5 a.m. and he usually picks up his kids' phone calls no matter what. But I guess he was asleep and whatever. And he still feels to this day, man, if I'd answered that call, maybe that could have diverted how she would have moved. But he said, man, look, listen, you're always going to feel that. And it's not your fault.
no. You know, great movie, Benjamin Button.
Mm-hmm.
And Benjamin Button, like he said, if that person makes the cab, if that person doesn't forget something, and it always goes back. Hindsight is 20/20.
Mm-hmm.
If this didn't happen, that didn't happen. But then you have to deal with I don't know, the fate. Some people don't believe in it, right? They don't believe in that, this fate stuff and what's already written in the book. But everything happens as it's supposed to, and everything is as it is. Like, it's not what it's not. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna say, what the hell did he just say? What I meant by that is, when things are happening, it's really happening.
It's really happening.
Whether you like it or not, it's happening.
And you got to deal with it.
Or not. But
Or
it's
ignore it.
better to
But
deal
it's
with
still
it.
happening.
It's still gonna happen.
Whether you deal with it or not.
Yeah.
Yep.